World's largest gold miner, the American company Newmont, has agreed to sell its Telfer gold mine and surrounding assets in Western Australia to the UK-listed Greatland Gold. The cash and scrip deal is worth $475 million and it's expected to be completed by the end of this year. Joining me now is Newmont President and Chief Executive Tom Palmer. Tom, thanks for your time. This is your first divestment of gold assets since you bought Newcrest last year. Just explain how this fits into Newmont's strategy.
Good morning or good day. It fits in well. When we closed our acquisition of Newcrest in early November last year, we were very clear about our go-forward portfolio, which was going to consist of Tier 1 operations. And we had in our portfolio 6 operations that are all very high-quality assets, but they're not Tier 1. And that means that they won't get that access to capital or that management time within the new Newmont portfolio. So Telfer was one of those assets that we announced would be held for divestment, and very pleased to have the announcement this morning that we're able to reach an agreement to send that asset into the hands of Greatland Gold, a very good management team backed by a really high-quality board, and really excited about what Telfer and the Havieron deposit will mean for that operation for many, many years to come. So it's a good news story and the first step in our rationalisation of our portfolio.
Yeah, Greatland Gold seems like the natural buyer. They already own 30% of Havieron that you just mentioned. Billionaire Andrew Twiggy Forrest, the major shareholder, a few of his executives from Fortescue are also on the board. Have they been pretty tough to negotiate with over the past few months?
It's been a very respectful, transparent set of discussions, and as we've worked through that process, it's been a professional process. I think it's been, as you'd expect in any transaction, a robust and honest discussion. But I think what we have here in the announcement we made overnight this morning, a win-win transaction. I think it's a good step for Newmont in terms of starting our portfolio rationalisation process, the first of those transactions to contribute to our $2 billion commitment for proceeds from divestments, and I think a great outcome for Greatland Gold. So I think a robust, fair, transparent, professional set of negotiations and a win-win outcome.
All right, once this deal's completed by the end of the year, you've still got some pretty big assets in Australia, Tanami, Boddington, Cadia. Just explain the growth outlook of those.
All 3 of those assets are Tier 1 by any measure around the world, and they all sit in Australia, one of the great mining jurisdictions in the world, and that was an important part of our strategy for approaching the Newcrest board at the beginning of last year. Boddington's got a life that's got many decades in front of it. It's just about running that mine very, very well, very, very efficiently. Tanami, we're spending close to $1 billion sinking a 1.5 kilometre deep shaft that opens up the access to the ore body at depth and allows Tanami to have decades of life in front of it. And at Cadia in New South Wales, we've just commissioned a new block cave. It's just in the block cave term, it's reached its hydraulic radius, which means the cave is now, underground cave is now caving. We're now also investing close to $1 billion in building a second cave at Cadia, and then we've got a bunch of infrastructure work to do to support those 2 caves. And those investments mean that Cadia's got a life for several decades as well. So those 3 assets in Australia are really important components of Newmont's portfolio for the next several decades.
All right, you're in Canberra right now for Minerals Week, a great chance for mining executives to speak with government officials. What sort of message have you been trying to get across?
It's been a good week here, and if I bring a perspective from a company that's got operations around 9 countries around the globe, there are very few places in the world where you have mining business leaders and government leaders, both in opposition and in government, coming together to discuss and debate issues and opportunities that affect our industry. You don't get that in many places, and I think it's something that really sets Australia apart. Not everyone agrees. The debates are robust, but I think that is a really important part of a healthy mining jurisdiction. So coming in and spending some time back in Australia and seeing that taking place is really, really encouraging, and it really does set Australia apart. Key messages for Newmont when we think about capital-intensive industry, the investments that we make, the life out in front of us. The most important thing for us is to have robust relationships that are based on trust and to have certainty. in decisions that are made around whatever policy or legislation may be. So establishing and maintaining relationships and ensuring that we have certainty in terms of the mining operations that we have are the most important things for us.
Well, we had the Chief Executive of BHP, Mike Henry, on a couple of weeks ago. He's got some concerns with Australia's industrial relations reform, saying they're pushing up costs at BHP. Does Australia have all of its policy settings right here?
When I think about Australia as a mining jurisdiction, it is one of the great mining jurisdictions in the world, and that's the reason why we made the decision to acquire Newcrest and to have that foundation sitting in our portfolio. That is fundamental to us. We'll have our points of disagreement over time. We think about long-term decisions. So I think about the role that Newmont will have in Australia over several decades, not just the next 2 years, the next 5 years. It's not short to medium, it's a long-term view. When I think about workplace relations, I've spent my whole life in mining. I've had 35 years in the Australian mining industry. I've seen ebbs and flows when it comes to industrial relations and employee relations. The most important thing is that leaders are establishing really robust relationships with their team members, relationships and workplaces that are safe and are based upon trust. You do that work well and you'll get the performance and productivity from your teams. People join organisation and leave leaders. The most important thing we can do as mining leaders is to maintain respectful and trusting relationships with our team members.
And Tom, just quickly, in that 35 years in the mining sector, have you ever seen the gold price as positive as it is right now?
Well, we're certainly hitting all-time highs, so it is a nice time to be in the gold industry. In 35 years in the mining industry, I've spent more time with commodity prices at the bottom of their cycle rather than where, I'm not saying gold's necessarily at the top, but gold having a moment in the sun is certainly a nice place to be. But that 35 years says that commodity prices are cyclical, and it's really, really important that you focus on what you can control, manage your productivity, manage your costs, and ensure that you're maintaining healthy margins to whatever the price may be.
Tom Palmer, President, Chief Executive of Newmont, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.